I can only say that she's as lovely as she seems. She's one of my best friends and I adore her. And congratulations on your award. And get up here and give me a hug.
My name is Furmanovsky. I'm known as a rock photographer, but I think of myself as just a professional photographer. It was the end of 1994, and I was trying to finish my book, which was called The Moment. It was like a diary. The Moment started with the Beatles, so it needed to end on some upcoming band. At that point, they weren't quite so, notorious or famous. And then instead of that ending my career as a rock photographer, it began another one, photographing Oasis, which was my best work, I think, as a photographer. Down at the first Cambridge Corn Exchange gig that I went to, I was puzzled by the dynamics of what was happening because the atmosphere in the place was electric. Hordes of teenagers, sort of very hip-looking ones, going around the block and going absolutely wild, and then nothing happening on the stage. Just everybody in their space. Griggs and Bonehead and Tony Carroll, and they played and they looked to Noel. They were more or less stationary. Noel smiled and did his guitar solos, and Liam, as you know, stood with his hands behind his back singing. But when he wasn't singing, he'd go and sit on the drum riser. And so you had this very little action going on, really, very little to shoot, if you think about it as photographers. And the audience was going absolutely berserk. And this is in the early days. And now that hasn't changed. It was all about the audience, really, and the songs that everybody can relate to and that have crossed generations now. Well, as Noel says, it's how the music makes you feel.
So the editing process is a good segue to the next thing I was going to talk about, which is actually the book. When you start to work on the book. I don't know how many pictures are in there, but there's quite a lot.
More than those.
But it's probably only 1% of what you've shot, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the first question is, what made you want to do a book in the first place?
I think there's just so much material, and that's when those little clips with Noel were actually done before they decided to get together. But just there was a period, and I just thought I said to Noel, I should do this book, and he's going, yeah, do it, and I'm behind that. That's great. Because I just thought, well, it's a body of work, and I think it's my best work. It's I've got a body of work on Floyd, but I was an amateur in those days, and I've got a body of work on bands as well. But this was my biggest body of work, my best work, I thought. So I thought, no, it would be great to have a book. And then Thames and Hudson, I'd done a Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon book, which was their early stuff. And they've got a fantastic team at Thames and Hudson, and they went for it, and I had a fantastic time working with them. They were really wonderful to work with.
So did you, was the picture editing done with Noel?
To some degree, yeah. I mean, he was certainly involved. And the title of the book, by the way, I think when Thames and Hudson did a mock-up of it, it was called sort of This Is Oasis, I think it was called. And Noel looked at me and went, oh, God, it's not going to be called that. So I said, oh, well, then, think of something else. And he came up with this, Thames and Hudson. We're like, that's a very long title. That's not catchy. And then I thought, well, it sounds like a lyric to me. And it sums up how he feels. And that was, he got the final
say. So he thinks the title, that's my next question, where the title
from him, yeah. I mean, he did the, was there then, be here now, won't be here now, was there then? But this one, yeah, I think that's what he felt this historic document was about. Them getting out of what was a tricky situation, really, for them. Nowhere.
Yeah. And obviously going through them with Noel, you must have had was there a general agreement on the pictures that should go in, or was there?
I think in the end he left it to me, but with the Paris ones, I remember that was funny because, as I said, they were like in a foul mood, Gallagher's. Noel was furious with Liam. Liam was drunk. All those pictures, which I love, Diane Arbus type pictures. And I remember him looking at them and I was thinking, oh, God, he's going to turn these down. And he went, I just don't like that jacket. I said, no problem, I'll darken it down. Bloody hell, okay, I got away with murder there, didn't you? And so he went for it, yeah.
That's great. So all the pictures in the book, are there pictures which didn't seem significant at the time but have taken on a great significance after, with the passage of time?
I think all of it really. Yeah, actually, when I think about it now. And this, as I say, this is the tip of an iceberg. I mean, we had to put it together very quickly because when I started the book in a kind of leisurely way, and then suddenly they were getting back together again. And that suddenly speeded the whole thing up. And we were like, oh, Jesus. And then I didn't know if I would have any say whatsoever or be able to shoot the reunion. And in fact, in this book, all there is about the reunion at this point, because it was May and the rehearsals just started, there's a picture of the empty rehearsal room. And Noel set up all the equipment so that we had a picture at the end of the book to say, this is about to happen. And that gave it this immediacy, which the moment had as well. There was a moment, it was about an up-and-coming band, this new band, Oasis. And this was about the reunion of the up-and-coming band, which we never thought would happen. And so it had a strange circular thing about it, actually. And then, as you've seen, perhaps at the end there was a picture of them together again from that, because I did actually shoot a couple of a Wembley show, and so I was able to get them together.
If you had to pick it like 2 or 3 pictures from the book that are your favourites, which ones would they be? Or your desert island Oasis photos?
Probably those. I just love those Paris ones because it's my Diane Arbus moment. And then I love Liam on the tour bus lying there asleep. For that whole tour he wore a coat. We called them the coat tour, which never came off. And it's not a year. And he wore it on stage and off stage. Imagine that coat. and yet the picture of him lying on the tour bus is, he's naked. Wasting it, and that went through as well. It was I thought maybe he only ever wanted to see it covered up to here. So I love that picture. And also I was on the bus, I opened my curtain on the bus and there's Leah lying there. It was shot with a Samsung instant camera.
Oh wow!
Flash. And I thought he might wake up. But he didn't wake up. So I love the yawning shot. I don't know, I love those pictures generally. To me, they are my best work.
I think for me, you might remember when it went past the silhouette shot of them, which I think was that during the recording of the Wonderwall video.
Yeah.
There were silhouettes, and then that's a great shot. I mean, a very graphic shot.
Yeah, I think when individuals can be recognised from their silhouette, then they kind of made it really.
Yeah. Okay. I suppose we're at the time now where I think we need to throw some questions to the floor, because I'm sure lots of people have some questions. I've got a few other questions if no one does have any, but I'm sure you do, so let's have some. That's okay.
Terrific talk about great perspective. One of the things I noticed with, I think Liam as much as anything, is the shapes of his legs and his ankles and his knees and the way he holds his hands. And you've known them for such a long time. Is this something that you've seen develop over time? It's like the way he moves, the way he holds himself is so different. Did that grow? Do you know how that developed?
My theory is that he had it in the playground when he was at school. Seriously, I do. I think he's, sometimes you see a child on the playground that just struts their stuff, and I think he's always had it. There's probably some, I don't know, I'm no psychologist, but there will be some, they have difficult childhood, those Gallagher brothers. But he had it when I'm, that, and he took his image, lock, stock and barrel from Ian Brown. Just the hands behind his back and staring and all of that was just his way of processing that thing. That was the and I guess he concentrated attention in the little that he did. But yes, that back shot of him going down the street in San Francisco with the feet splayed out. It's unmistakable, isn't it? Yeah. Good observation.
I was grateful. Just a bit technical on the early work. What film did you use and what camera? Do you remember?
Tri-X and Nikon.
Right.
Nikon FEs, Nikon FM. The FEs, I think, is what I was using. And then there was the F5 was my favourite camera at the time. I still got the F5, actually. It was a great camera.
Have you got the copyright?
Yes, I do, actually. I managed to hang on to the copyright of it all, and was great. Now, I don't know what. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore for just about anybody working in music or any other celebrity stuff, which is sad in a way.
Yeah. Right.
You did the rehearsal shots for Cream 2005 alcohol concerts. What was it like working with a band like Cream, who were obviously a lot younger than the Oasis guys? Was there any comparison? And I believe you got told off by Eric.
I did actually, yeah. You know they call him God, don't you? So that's told off by God. Actually, it's quite scary. Yeah, and so yes, I did. It could have been the same as same sort of thing as Oasis.
Yeah.
They were in a rehearsal room in Bray Studios, I think it was.
And they all had like 10 as well.
They did, yeah. It was a tense
Yeah.
time, and they were getting together, and they'd hadn't spoken for 200 years, and they were whatever it was, they'd have falling outs and all of that. So there was that, and I tried to be discreet, but I was wandering around taking pictures, and at one point through the PA system, there was this voice from Eric who said, "Could you stop wandering around like that? It's a distraction." I froze. I'm so sorry. And so yeah, that was the voice of God.
Thank you so much for the conversation, Jill. I wanted to ask, what part of your process do you not get to speak about often and often enough? Like, what part of your photography process would you say that people don't usually speak to or look at that you think actually, especially creating this book, is actually a part of the process that was really profound for you?
Oh, it's such an interesting question. I think I might have to think about it a little bit longer. It's a great question because I don't know if I've ever asked myself that kind of question. But I'm working on, there's a documentary being made about my work actually at the moment. It's been 7 years in the making. It is finished, more or less. I have put the high-res files in and I'm still fiddling with it, but we're hoping to get it out. But it's called The Invisible Photography. And I think there's if there's one thing is the opposite of being the selfie generation, it's just that I would like to be invisible. And that's where, I like to creep around and it's quite sinister these days. It could be arrested for it. But, whether it's on the tube or anything, I just like to observe and so that side of me is something I'm still sort of exploring. I find it quite difficult to go, because all right, if I take your photo, some people can do that. I have to steal mine, but people are not aware. But it's a form of worship, the worship of life, worship of how things come together. And if I haven't got a band to shoot, just on the side here, when during COVID, when there wasn't anything to shoot, I was living in. I put my daughter. I had a garden in my flat, so I took my daughter's flat, which was a 1-bedroom overlooking, a load of gardens. I swapped with her, and there were foxes, living there, and I was there at 4 a.m. in my nightie with a huge lens, photographing foxes coming and going and all that sort of thing. And I was thinking, you're a nutter, but that was, it's an addiction. It's a worshipping of these fleeting seconds that go past. But thank you for that question. It's really interesting.
In your career, you've shot almost everybody, I would think. Was there anybody that you haven't shot that you would like to?
Oh, I missed so much that I could have, perhaps. I mean, I didn't do Bowie, for example. I did, actually. I photographed Bowie. A bodyguard jumped off the stage. He said, "You're not allowed to photograph Bowie." I said, "I am. I've got this pass from the He said, "No, Bowie doesn't allow." But this is during the gig.
Yes.
took the camera, pulled the film out the back,
Really?
and then that freaked me out. So I was up like this for a bit. And then at the end of the gig, and I was maybe 18, 19, I went to backstage because I saw the manager of Bowie, who at the time was this larger than life, with a fur coat and a blonde on either side of him. And I said, somebody did this, to me, and he said to me, have this champagne. that was his answer to that. Yeah. And then afterwards I found out it was Mick Rock.
Really?
Yeah. Mick Rock had decided that he was Bowie's photographer, and he suggested that only he should be allowed to photograph Bowie and nobody else. And there were some photographers, like Chalmers Davis and a few others, that snuck in as, and did pictures. But I, with my rainbow pass, assumed I'd be all right, and I got caught. So I never photographed Bowie, and I regret it because I don't think it was him. I think it was the management at the time.
I'm sure it was.
That's just one.
I was going to say
I was
that.
going to say Nina Simone. I mean, oh God, I would had the chance. Maybe I could have done. There's lots.
Thank you. Could monopolise your chat for hours. You first?
We know each other.
We do.
It's sort of following on from that. It's just other artists, sort of stylistically or more stylistically than you'd like to shoot. So
Yeah.
and you're like, yes,
There is a few. I mean, actually, my granddaughter really likes Billie Eilish,
yes.
and I like Billie Eilish as well. And I like to photograph Billie Eilish, but I'm not going to sign something that says, we own absolutely everything in the salon. It just, when I did I did a shoot with Amy Winehouse. It lasted about 2 minutes. It's become a really famous set of pictures. That's how I like to shoot. I like to go to Glastonbury and then be allowed, and then go, excuse me, is it all right if I just take a quick snap? Because sometimes, this is another secret in the way of all this, is that you can photograph somebody at Glastonbury. They're going to look different at Glastonbury than they look at Hammersmith Odeon. Because at Glastonbury, it's all kind of vibes of Glastonbury, and they're out there, and that Glastonbury is in the person. And so I like to go to places which might have an effect on that person and cut the background out. But background is still there.
Yeah.
And that can be done in 2 minutes. Not if you don't have the access, or some manager's going, sign here, and you don't own it.
I thought it was really interesting when you were talking about the transition between analog and digital. And I was wondering, after Be Here Now and kind of the decline of Britpop, did you notice like a tangible difference between shooting Oasis between the 90s and 90s?
Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, 1999 was the crossover. So I went to Leeds in 1999 to do a shoot with the band. And I got to the airport, and the guy who picked me up, one of the roadies, said to me, one of the bands left. I said, well, I've come here to do a shoot. And I said, I'm at the airport, let's just go. And that's when Bonehead had been removed from Oasis at that point. There was only 4 of them in this, beautiful sort of chateau where they were recording. And that was the end of Oasis Mark 1, because a few weeks after that, Griggs left. And then a few weeks after that, I got a call from Ollie, went, okay, we've got 2 new members now. And I said, are you sure? Because remember, they'd had that bass there very briefly, who'd only lasted a few weeks. So I thought, well, are you sure he said, oh yeah, this is it. So I said, well, let's put you on a white background then and just shoot that, which we did. But yes, and that coincided with this digital revolution. I remember going to Bray Studios when I'd done Creep with a early Kodak digital camera, and I had a battery pack about 3, and it was attached to an F3 or something, an FE or something, and it shot 300k files or something, or maybe 1 meg. It was like the top of the range, and it wasn't shooting the moment. But I remember still the band going, can look on the back and see what was, that was the novelty at the time. But it took another 5 years. By the time 2004-5 came, there was Oasis Mark II was in full flow. Very, very good band, Oasis Mark II. Very, very keen on Gem and Andy.
Yeah.
Was it just a different DNA?
Scott, that was the one that only lasted 30 seconds, wasn't
Poor
it?
old Scott.
Or, I know.
He's got a bad lip.
So you mentioned about the reunion being something that's quite impossible, something that most people thought would never happen. And I know that a lot of people who heard some other photographers who had worked with them, they all see them as finished. That's kind of like really similar to what it is in the press, like being brothers in fights over anything. So what's your kind of unique take or perspective on their relationships throughout the years? I mean, you'll be, as far as I know, the only photographer that has worked with them so closely and intimately. So I'm just wondering about that.
Gosh. Well, again, a very interesting question. Thank you very much for your question. Do you know, I wasn't very involved with the reunion, really. You know, that little clip where I said, no, you make sure and ring me up. He didn't. No, he didn't. I didn't know that they had joined together. He didn't know himself at the time, to be fair. That wasn't on cards yet. But I think what actually happened was that they decided that they were going to do it. They had to keep it very, very quiet. I believe that the shoot was Simon Evans, who I had lunch with. I think they were only there for about 5 minutes, which is fairly typical of them. And then it had to be kept under wraps for several months. So that's fascinating. But I wasn't party to any of this. And then I think once they decided to do it, then actually it became a very, very big package, as you know. I mean, it became mega money earning corporate project. And this time Liam and his management, and he'd already gone out on his own and was successful on his own, which I think was a key part of the reunion. I think Liam had to go out and prove that he could do it on his own before he felt able to be able to do that, and they were more equal. And basically, the who had access and who didn't have access was down to Liam's people more than Noel. Whereas Noel had been the person to say what happened and didn't in the early Oasis. Now it's more of an equal, if you like. And so my role was very minimal, other than the sort of, the grand old lady of Oasis and, an honorary presence for it. Nevertheless, I don't know how anybody here went to those reunion gigs. They were fantastic. I mean, they were absolutely amazing.
We've got time for one more. And then go to the closest person. So people
Question. Thank you so much. As things have shifted to like streaming and clips and there's no more record stores aren't what they used to be and magazines aren't around like they used to be. How do you see kind of like the outlook of this kind of art of seeing behind the scenes through photographs versus the streaming where the artists, they always think that they're on camera and so you don't get the photographs?
I think again, that's a fascinating question. My take is that the digital era changed everything anyway, because digital has got a slightly different relationship with truth than the film era. Not that there wasn't manipulation in the film era, it's so much, and I haven't even gone into AI. So so I think that actually what I've documented and the other photographers, the Rock Archive, by the way, you can have a look at rockarchive.com, which has got a lot of rock photography in it, not just mine, I might add, is what I call the rock and roll era. So, like, for example, now there's people still doing impressionist paintings, isn't there? But we're not in the impressionist era. That was those artists who revolutionised that kind of style of painting at the time. So I feel as though the rock and roll era has been superseded by a kind of a digital era, and that has affected the whole cultural side of it. And that's why my job now is to sort of package up the rock and roll era, because I think it is very inspiring. And I'm doing my bit towards it, really. It's Rock Archive.
I was going to end on that note, actually, is that you're talking about Rock Archive, but just to say that I don't know whether you're aware at the time during sort of peak of your career that you were actually not just photographing the bands, we were recording cultural history, which is, all the bands we record now are all part of our collective cultural history.
Yes.
Were you aware of that at the time? And then certainly now you are, because you've got the Rock Archive, which is all about preserving it and trying to get it out there.
Well, it started in 1998. After that digital exhibit, well, the cusp was there then. The end of was there then. I thought to myself, this preceded all the blockbuster David Bowie exhibitions and things at V&A. We did a blockbuster exhibition just for Oasis fans in the Roundhouse. And it was at that point that we had our first website and so on. So all of that changed around there. And it was at that point I was thinking, I need a website that's more generic, rockarchive.com, because it needs to be gathered up and stuff. And it's going to be lost. And I feel that I've felt it over the last 25 years to try and have some base for it, some sort of centre for it, some sort of cultural.
You're trying to get a museum off of that, aren't you, Rock?
I think museum kind of, but more. I thought I can't do costumes and amps and. Yes. For the visual side, absolutely. Rockarchive.com is an attempt to do that, and I've hung on to Rock Archive, which is not a. It's not a company that's huge.
Hall of Fame. That's what you called it, wasn't it? That's what you wanted.
Well, Hall of Fame is a bit kind of naff, I think, actually, from what I've heard. But I just felt it should just have some gravitas. Not razzmatazz, but gravitas, because people might want to study it. And if we're moving into a very repressive era coming forward, which we may well be, we don't know, it's not looking brilliant for stuff at the moment, then this should be put somewhere where it can inspire my grandchildren's grandchildren, because I think it will do.
Okay, so if there are any billionaires in the room, I want to finance that. Step forward with your hand up. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.